But if we're going to have this vision of unity, this vision of openness, if we're going to have this as a direct experience of our life, we have to be willing to feel everything, including what's painful. So it's a funny thing. I was speaking with someone today, and we were speaking about, he was struggling with something deeply painful in his life. And he was saying, if I could just be free of this experience, then my life would be wonderful. And what I was helping him to see was that this experience is your doorway. But he wanted to get rid of the experience. And I was urging him to walk through the experience, to jump into the experience. Almost like we jump into a freezing cold river. To be free, we have to be willing to jump into that and join with it fully. And sometimes that means we join with our pain fully. We join with it 100%. And when we get to a place of non-division, a place of absolute unity with our pain, with the very thing that we're dreading, and then the energy just moves through us. We realize, it's just energy. It's just an experience. It's not going to kill me. This experience that I've joined with is actually awoken me. But it takes a certain amount of fearlessness to meet life in this way. It takes a fearlessness and a willingness to feel everything, to experience everything, and not pull away from it. And so if we walk into a room and there's someone in the room that we don't like, someone we're afraid of, someone that our mind has lots of judgment about, our invitation is, can we open to that person? And not just in a mental way, but can we open from the hugeness of our heart and allow all these egoic tendencies just to burn off? And that is oftentimes an uncomfortable experience for a short period of time. To get closer to pain, to become intimate with pain, to become intimate with grief is an uncomfortable thing. But if we want to be free, we have to be willing to meet it fully, 100%, totally. And when we do, it just becomes energy. In fact, it becomes an energy that wakes us up. It becomes an energy that's alive within us. It becomes an energy that we can actually use in our life. We spend so much of our mental, emotional, and psychic energy repressing our pain, repressing our feelings, our judgments, our anger. But if we meet the very thing we're repressing fully, then there's this huge amount of energy that's freed up within us. And this energy is actually experienced as love, which is a crazy thing. It's a crazy thing that we find love in all the places that we're avoiding in ourselves and all the places we're avoiding in life. Because if we look at what love is the energy of inclusion. Love doesn't say no to anything or anyone. It fully embraces all experiences. And it's not separate from any experience. But to experience this depth of love, we have to be willing to walk beyond our egoic conditioning, walk beyond this tendency within us to seek pleasure and avoid pain at all costs, and to go towards pain, go towards unity, go towards the experience of life, whether it feels good or whether it doesn't feel good. And so in a sense, to be free is to live in a fearless way, a fearlessly open-hearted way. And when we begin to do this, a few times, then it begins just to do itself within us. It begins to make the steps. It begins to open up. And we can just get out of the way, and it just does everything for us. And then we're carried through life. And we experience an incredible intimacy and oneness with life and as the very movement of life itself. So what I'm speaking about is it's not something we do. It's not something we do with our willpower, with our ego. It's more like something we surrender to. We allow ourselves to fall into this. At some point we fall on our knees and we say, I've tried fighting with life enough. I realized that it did not work. And so I'm going to allow this other force to carry me. And normally that happens after many years of fighting with life. And then after that, there's normally many years of us trying to do life right through our willpower. And then after that exhausts itself, we fall on our knees and we say, okay, God, I don't know how to do this. You show me how. And then our heart opens. And we listen to that still, quiet voice of our heart and allow it to speak through us. Allow it to meet life through us. And when we surrender in this way, we directly experience love and unity all around us. Even in the very places that we once ran from, in the places we once hid from, in the places we once avoided. And our life becomes unimaginably beautiful. So anyways, I thought we might have our meditation now. So I was once at the Ramana Maharshi ashram in India, and in India you just sit on the concrete floor, and I was sitting on the floor, and it was probably 3 or 4 in the morning, and at that time I was sitting for 3 hours a day every day, and I walked in the temple, and there was such a wonderful bliss and openness in the air, and I thought, oh, this is going to be the best meditation ever. And I had a little shawl, and I was, it was like this thick, and that was my cushion that I sat on. And I sat down, and I experienced about 10 or 15 minutes of bliss, and then my legs fell asleep on the concrete floor and started cramping up. And then I proceeded to sit there in intense pain for the 2 hours and 45 minutes to finish off my meditation. And at some point, and I remember this was my first couple nights in India, at some point there was this loud noise, just this loud, crazy, wild animal sound. If anyone's heard a peacock screech before, it just let out the loudest screech. I about jumped off the floor, but my legs were so numb and asleep that I couldn't even move. I just sat there in intense pain, and then every 15 minutes or so there'd be this screech of the peacock. I had no idea what it was, and so my mind just would spin, just thinking what kind of wild animal was going to be outside the ashram ready to eat me. And then at some point I think I had to crawl to get up because my legs were so asleep still. And the blood got back to them, and I eventually got up and went outside and saw these beautiful peacocks just walking around. It was such a beautiful sight to see them. So I'm a big fan of when we meditate that we're comfortable. We already have our crazy minds to work with, so. So anyways, you're welcome to have your eyes opened or closed. And I'll look around a little bit throughout the meditation just to check the energy in the room, but don't pay any attention to me. And so the first thing we want to do is we want to fully let go. And if you just notice right now, there's an incredible quiet in this room. And the same quiet is also in your mind. In fact, this quiet is the very fabric of your mind. I can also acknowledge that there's thoughts that float through your mind. Let's see if we can all acknowledge that the thoughts actually arise out of a quiet, spacious, luminous presence. There's nothing wrong with thoughts. But during this meditation, we're not going to pay any attention to our thoughts. We're not going to pay any attention to our thinking mind. Simply going to bring our awareness to that quiet, spacious, luminous, alive presence. And if you simply notice this presence, you may notice that it's absolutely good. It's completely perfect. It's whole, it's complete. It has no beginning, no end. Doesn't have a gender, an age, and I simply invite you to let go fully into this presence. I give you full permission to unhook from any thinking mind, unhook from any emotions, unhook from any wanting or desiring or planning the future or dwelling on the past. And allow yourself to fall backwards fully. Into the fullness of your being, the fullness of your consciousness. The fullness of who you are. Beyond your ego, beyond your gender, beyond your personality, beyond your body. And I'm going to invite you to notice this being, this presence, this luminosity in the space that you call your head. And if you notice, this beingness is not confined to your head, it's not confined to your mental mind. That you cannot notice the difference between the spacious openness and aliveness that's within this space that you call your head or your mind, and the space beyond it, the space in this room, the space in the sky, the space in which my voice arises in. Like right now you can't tell where you end and the room begins. Where you end and I begin. And can we allow this openness to continue? Can we allow this openness to be discovered? Can we allow this openness to spread out? Notice this luminous presence in our throat, in the area we call our throat, our neck, our shoulders. And even if there's tightness or tension in our throat, that's welcome to open, to relax, to let go, to spread out, to release in this spacious open presence that we are. We can come into our chest. Notice that there's an aliveness in our chest. A brilliance, a divinity. If you go into your heart, you may notice a bright light. If any of you go into your chest and feel a heaviness, a weight, a sense of being closed, don't worry, that's not your heart, that's your emotional mind. And we welcome that. We welcome any sadness, any heaviness, any weight, any anger, any jealousy, any grief, any pain, sadness, or hurt. We welcome it into the openness of our divinity. We welcome it into the love and goodness of our heart. And so we meet whatever's within us. The sense of total compassion, total love. And so if we just see goodness and brilliance coming out of our heart, we enjoy that experience. And if we see pain or sadness from the past, we meet that too. With this love that we are, this openness that we are, this luminosity. And so we open in our chest, our sides, our ribs, behind the heart. Of course, letting go of anything that's old and unnecessary. We open in our bellies, our solar plexus. Again, just taking some deep breaths. Opening, letting go, relaxing. And again, if there's any pain, tension, tightness, the invitation is to meet it with love, with openness, with unity. Oftentimes there's a clenching in the solar plexus. So we breathe into that and allow it to release, allow it to open. Oftentimes there's a clenching also, a couple inches below the belly button. We breathe into that and open. Release and let go. As well as in the pelvis, can we open, release, and let go? And also discover. We're discovering that this silence is throughout our being. That there's a wonderful silence. In our heart, in our chest, in our throat, in our belly, in our pelvis, in our thighs, in our legs, in our feet, our arms, our hands, our back. There's this wonderful awake, alive silence. Despite our minds, despite our thoughts, despite our personality, there's this incredible, overwhelming goodness, overwhelming beauty, overwhelming silent luminosity. Pouring out of every cell, pouring out of every atom. Within us and also outside of us. Which makes us see and realize and experience that there is actually no end to us. There is no end to this silent, awake luminosity that we are. There is no end.